The lock on the shed clicked open with a quiet snap, and Officer Kellen's flashlight landed on a black military case that shouldn't have existed in a suburban backyard. Inside, combat photos, coded notebooks, and a face he'd seen only once before, Xavier Carter, staring dead into the lens like he'd been waiting. What Kellen didn't know was that every second of his trespass was being watched, and the moment he touched that case, he triggered something far bigger than a police investigation. On a golden afternoon in Winston Hills, North Carolina, the sun stretched long shadows across manicured lawns and white picket fences, casting everything in a gentle, suburban hush. 15-year-old Malik Carter walked the same route he always did from Ashburn High to his home on Violet Hill Drive, headphones in, backpack snug, posture upright. His hoodie was light, more for style than warmth, and his steps matched the slow rhythm of the beat playing in his left ear. The right earbud dangled loose. His father had made that a rule long ago. Stay aware. Stay sharp. You don't get to walk through the world like you're invisible, Malik. And on days like this, that rule felt more like a prophecy. He was halfway down Ashburn Lane when the cruiser turned the corner. Black and white. Marked. Creeping. The kind of crawl that wasn't just patrol, it was interest. Curiosity. Suspicion. Officer Travis Kellen had been transferred to the Winston Hills PD just 3 weeks earlier, but already he'd built a reputation for being thorough, at least that's what he called it. Others just called him intense. Too intense. He spotted Malik from a block away and immediately slowed his roll. The boy didn't look threatening, but he didn't look like he belonged either. Not here, not on Ashburn. Kellen had driven this route every day. He didn't remember seeing this kid before. And now? Backpack, hoodie, walking alone? That set off alarms. His fingers tapped the wheel. The cruiser rolled closer. The boy didn't flinch. Kellen frowned and flicked the lights, no siren, just a gentle spin of color. A friendly stop. Malik paused. He felt the presence of the cruiser even before he saw it. The low hum of tension. The way the air changes when you're being watched. He slid the dangling earbud from his ear and turned, calm, composed. "Afternoon, officer," he said, voice respectful but not timid. Kellen rolled down his window, rested his arm like he owned the road. "Where you headed, son?" "Home, sir." "You? Live around here?" "Yes, sir." Violet Hill Drive. That gave Kellen pause. "That's an expensive neighborhood." Malik said nothing. His face was neutral, the kind that gave nothing away. Kellen leaned forward. "What's your name?" "Malik Carter." "You got ID on you?" Malik hesitated. "I'm 15. I have my student badge in my backpack." "Keep your hands where I can see them," Kellen barked, already opening his door. "Don't go reaching for anything unless I tell you." Malik froze. "It's in the front pocket, sir." "I said don't move." The officer stepped out, hand resting near his sidearm. "You always walk this way?" "Yes, sir." "Every day." "You live there with who?" "Your mom?" "My mom and my dad." Kellen's eyes narrowed. "Your dad, huh? What's he do?" "He's in the military. Strategic intelligence." Kellen blinked, then snorted. "Military? You mean like Army recruiter or something?" "He's a colonel," Malik answered evenly. "He's deployed overseas." Kellen laughed. "Not the friendly kind. The mocking kind. So let me guess. Top secret missions, saving the world. Sounds like a movie script. Is he some kind of spy?" "No, sir," Malik said. "He's real." The tone in his voice was steady. Not boastful, not defensive. Just truth. And that somehow made it worse. "All right, Mr. 007, Kellen muttered. "Let's see that backpack." "Yes, sir." Malik crouched slowly, unzipped the front pocket, and pulled out a school badge and a tattered copy of To Kill a Mockingbird. He offered both with open palms. Kellen didn't take them. He stepped forward, peering inside the bag like it might explode. No weed? No knives? Nothing you're hiding? No, sir. You ever been arrested? No, sir. Kellen stood straighter, adjusted his belt, tried to mask his frustration. You just seem too clean. Across the street, behind the thick trunk of a sycamore, Tiana Brooks stood still, phone angled low but lens up. She hadn't meant to walk this way. Her mom sent her out for eggs, but what she saw stopped her. Cold. And her father's voice echoed in her head, when truth is threatened, record it. She hit the red button. So where's Daddy Super Spy now? Kellen asked. Classified location, Malik replied. Kellen rolled his eyes. You really expect me to buy that? Behind him, a second cruiser pulled up. Officer Warren stepped out but didn't approach. His gaze caught on Tiana and her phone. He said nothing. Kellen kept pushing. You sure he ain't imaginary? You sure your mom didn't cook up a bedtime story so you wouldn't cry at night? Malik's jaw flexed. Are you finished, sir? That gave Kellen pause. The boy's tone had not changed. But something behind his eyes had. Get your stuff and move along, Kellen snapped. And stay out of trouble, secret agent. Malik packed his bag slowly. Every motion deliberate. He didn't speak, didn't look back. Just walked, like his father had taught him, with dignity pressed into his spine. Kellen spat on the curb behind him. Military my ass, he muttered. Probably works at a call center. What he didn't know was that 2 hours later, in an underground facility on the other side of the world, a terminal screen flashed red. The words Protocol Alpha triggered, civilian family compromised glowed against a dark interface. Colonel Xavier Carter stood in mid-briefing. He didn't ask who. He didn't need to. He simply turned to the analyst beside him and said, "Prep the bird. I'm going home." Back in Winston Hills, Malik stepped through the door of 812 Violet Hill Drive. The scent of lemon cleaner and jasmine oil greeted him like a whisper. In the kitchen, the sound of a wooden spoon tapping a pot told him his mom was cooking. He didn't move from the doorway. "Hey baby," Serena Carter called. She stepped into view, still in scrubs, eyes sharp beneath exhaustion. She looked at his face, blank, quiet, too still. What happened? Nothing, Malik said. Try again. He exhaled. That new cop. The one from the news. Kellen. He stopped me. Her. Mouth tightened. Did he search you? Sort of. Asked a bunch of questions. About you. About Dad. What did you say? I told him Dad's in strategic intelligence. That's all. She crossed the kitchen slowly, handed him a bottle of water. He laughed. Said Dad was probably imaginary. Serena closed her eyes for 1 second. Then walked to the hallway closet and pulled down a locked case. From inside, she removed a matte black phone with no logos. She handed it to Malik. Your father said to only power this on if a code red ever reached our front door. Malik turned it on. The screen lit, secure channel open, awaiting confirmation. Serena keyed in a code. A moment later, a voice spoke. Serena. Malik. Dad. I'm inbound. Don't say another word. Surveillance is live. 3 blocks away, in the back of his cruiser, Officer Travis Kellen tapped Malik's name into the system. Straight A student. No priors. No warning flags. Serena Carter, ER administrator. 2 promotions. No history of complaints. Married to, he paused. Xavier Carter. Access denied. He tried again. Manual override. Restricted. Federal clearance required. His screen flashed again. This search has been logged. Kellen cursed, slammed his laptop shut. But the damage was done. He'd pulled a thread he didn't understand. And something was pulling back. The buzz of the secure phone still rang in Malik's ears long after his father's voice vanished from the line. Upstairs, his mother was already locking windows, moving with military precision as if instincts long dormant had suddenly reawakened. Downstairs, Malik sat on the edge of the couch, his schoolbooks untouched, the water bottle still unopened in his lap. Outside, the streetlights flickered on, blanketing Ashburn Lane in soft amber, making everything look calm. But it wasn't. Not anymore. 3 blocks away, Officer Travis Kellen stared at the access-denied screen still glowing on his in-cruiser laptop. He'd never seen a civilian file bounce back with a federal lock. Not even for retired generals. Who the hell was this guy? He opened a second window, tried again using a backdoor login a buddy from military training once slipped him, an old channel, barely traceable. Another red screen. Another warning, this search has been flagged and reported. His stomach turned. But instead of backing off, Kellen doubled down. He printed what he could, tax records, marriage licenses, property ownership filings. Serena Carter. Xavier Carter. 1 child. But when he clicked on Xavier's employment data again, the file didn't open. It vanished. His screen went black for half a second, then returned to his desktop. A chill crept over his neck. Still, he told himself it was just bureaucracy. Smoke and mirrors. He was sure the kid was lying. He had to be. No one that calm, that polished, that young, lived here without hiding something. The next morning, Malik walked into Ashburn High like nothing happened. His shoulders square, eyes forward, earbuds in, but only one. The hall seemed quieter. Or maybe that was just his head playing tricks on him. He caught Tiana's eye near the lockers. She gave a nod, almost hesitant. They didn't speak, not yet. At lunch, she found him alone at a bench near the back of the cafeteria. "I was there," she said quietly. "I filmed it." Malik blinked. "You did?" "Behind the tree. I didn't mean to. I knew it wasn't right." He didn't answer right away. She pulled out a flash drive, slid it across the table. "You should have a copy." "You posted yet?" "Not without your okay." He paused. Then nodded once. "Let people see." That evening, the video went live. Raw, timestamped, no embellishments, just the truth. Tiana blurred Malik's face halfway through, but left the audio untouched. The moment Kellen mocked his father's job, laughed about him being imaginary, called him 007, and barked, "Keep your hands where I can see them," to a 15-year-old boy just walking home. It took 90 minutes for the video to hit 5,000 shares. Local forums blew up. Twitter threads took off. Community Facebook pages exploded with debates. Half the comments defended Malik. He was polite. Respectful. That cop had no reason. Others weren't so kind. Stop making everything about race. He should have just said thank you and moved on. Bet he had something in that backpack. Kellen saw every comment. He screen captured the ones he liked. Ignored the rest. But he saw it, the tide shifting. He began parking a few streets over from Violet Hill Drive, watching the Carter home at night with the engine off, windows rolled up. Once, he saw Malik walking his dog. Another time, jogging with headphones in. Each time, he noted the boy's routine like he was building a case. He wasn't even sure what he was looking for anymore. Proof. Inconsistency. A crack in the calm. He found none. So, he turned his attention elsewhere. At 2:11 a.m. on a Thursday, Kellen stood in the alley behind the Carter residence. The backyard was dark, the air still. He climbed over the gate silently, gloved hands gripping the top rail. The shed in the corner was padlocked, but the kind of padlock that said not hiding much. Except it was. He picked it in under 30 seconds. Inside, fertilizer, rakes, gardening tools. And one case. Black. Locked. Military style. He hesitated, but only for a second. When he opened it, the contents stopped him cold. A leather-bound journal filled with ciphers, coordinates, and strange abbreviations. A folder of photographs, Xavier Carter in fatigues, standing beside unnamed men in desert terrain. No insignias. No nameplates. Just eyes. Cold, unreadable. Real. Kellen took pictures. Every page. Every photo. Then he returned it all exactly as he found it, relocked the shed, and disappeared into the night. What he didn't know was that his every move had been tracked. 3 houses away, a discreet camera blinked to life the moment he stepped onto the Carter property. A voice in a van across town reported into a secure satellite channel, "We have a breach." ID confirmed, Travis Kellen. Proceed to escalation watch. At dawn, Serena Carter walked into the Winston Hills Police Department. She didn't shout. Didn't flinch. She placed a flash drive on the front desk and said clearly, "This is a formal complaint. Officer Kellen entered my property at 2:11 a.m. without a warrant. This is the footage. I want to speak to Internal Affairs." By lunchtime, the story had made Channel 5. Then Channel 9. The clip played in a tight zoom, Kellen hunched in the shed, flashlight scanning documents, hands moving quickly. The next image, Malik, calm during the stop, voice steady as Kellen mocked him. The contrast was damning. The police chief called a press conference before sunset. Officer Kellen has been suspended without pay pending full investigation. His actions do not represent our department's standards. In his apartment, Kellen stared at the television. His face on the screen. Then Xavier Carter's name beside a blurred military record that no one could access. His hands trembled. But not from guilt. From fury. "They're hiding something," he whispered. "I know they are." At school, Malik walked through the halls like a ghost everyone wanted to glimpse but no one dared speak to. Some gave him high fives. Others just stared. One teacher pulled him aside and whispered, "If you ever want to talk." He nodded, but didn't answer. He didn't want sympathy. He wanted silence. At home, his mother was constantly near her phone. The shed had a new reinforced lock. The windows were double-checked. A car now sat across the street every night, black SUV, government plates. And in Washington, D.C., an agency few had heard of compiled a report titled Civilian Infraction, Incident Code Alpha. The final entry read, "Subject Kellen confirmed breach. Threat assessment active. Recommendation, containment pending." And across the Atlantic, Colonel Xavier Carter boarded a military transport flight in civilian gear. He looked at the operative beside him and said, "He broke into our home. Saw things he shouldn't. This isn't defense anymore. This is exposure." The operative didn't ask for clarification. "And the boy?" "Held his ground," Xavier said. "Which means it's our turn." The jet touched down just after midnight on a tarmac that didn't exist on any civilian map, wheels skimming through the rain like a whisper. Colonel Xavier Carter stepped off in plain clothes, the kind that made him blend into any crowd, except he didn't blend. He never did. Not when he walked with the weight of 100 unspoken missions behind his eyes, and not now, returning home not as an operator but as a father. 48 hours ago, his son had been stopped, mocked, and marked by a man who thought he saw through him. Now the man who had served in operations that required silence was stepping into the light. By the time the sun rose over Winston Hills, the story had already spread far beyond the local news. The footage of Officer Travis Kellen snooping inside the Carter's shed had run on national morning shows. Paired side by side with the stop on Ashburn Lane, the contrast was too much to ignore. Malik, calm and respectful, while Kellen rifled through private property in the dead of night like a burglar with a badge. Public outrage surged. Half the town called for Killen's badge. The other half mumbled about context. But the mayor had already made her choice. By noon, an official statement was issued: Officer Killen is hereby terminated effective immediately. We will cooperate fully with any federal inquiry into misconduct. Meanwhile, inside the Carter home, Malik sat quietly at the kitchen table, textbooks open but untouched. Serena stood near the sink, phone in hand, speaking in clipped tones to an attorney who now represented them pro bono. Across from Malik sat his father, Xavier, freshly returned, freshly grounded, though the sharpness in his shoulders said he was still operating on alert. You didn't break, Xavier said quietly. You didn't lash out. You taught me not to, Malik replied. There was something unspoken between them, something solid. Pride. Restraint. Mutual understanding that came not from words but from the knowledge of what could have happened and what didn't. Across town, Killen sat in his apartment in the dark, watching reruns of his own downfall. His hands shook, not from fear but from unraveling. The world had turned on him, and he still didn't understand why. He told himself he was just doing his job. That something about the boy didn't sit right. That he wasn't the villain. But when he looked at Xavier Carter's face in the still image pulled from the shed, a face half-shadowed, half-illuminated by some desert sun, he knew. He had poked something ancient, something quiet, and now it was watching him. That evening, the community filled the Riverton Civic Hall. Parents, students, teachers, business owners, pastors, retired vets, local press. Some came to listen. Some came to justify. Some just came to see if the rumors were true. Mayor Judith Green stood at the podium first, clearing her throat. We're not here for damage control. We're here for accountability. Then she stepped aside. A hush fell across the room as Xavier Carter approached the microphone. No uniform. No medals. Just a plain navy sweater and a father's gaze. He didn't read from paper. He didn't need to. I've served on battlefields you've never heard of, he began. I've protected leaders whose names you'll never know. I've been injured, I've buried brothers, I've followed orders even when they came wrapped in silence. But none of those moments, not one, was more dangerous than the sidewalk my son walked last week. The room held its breath. Because out there, on a sunny street in the middle of your neighborhoods, the battlefield is assumption. It's fear wrapped in authority. It's power without responsibility. And that, he said, voice steady but charged, is what almost broke my son's dignity in half. Almost. He turned slightly, nodding toward Malik, who sat near the back. But he didn't break. He held his ground. Which means this town now has a choice. Look away, or look inward. The silence afterward wasn't empty. It was full of reckoning. Some people applauded slowly. Some didn't move. But no one left. The next morning, Travis Killen's name was officially struck from the roster. No pension. No reinstatement hearing. A quiet end to a loud fall. Serena Carter received an offer from the city council to join a newly formed civilian oversight board. She accepted, not to make noise, but to make sure silence never covered injustice again. Tiana Brooks, meanwhile, was approached by the state's Department of Education. Her video, honest, raw, unedited, was approved for inclusion in a new statewide training program on anti-bias protocols and digital witness ethics. Malik returned to Ashburn High with his head held high. Some students still whispered, but many looked at him differently now, not out of fear, but with the weight of understanding. He wasn't just the kid who got stopped. He was the kid who didn't fold. And that mattered. One afternoon, a week after the town hall, Malik stood in the driveway as his father adjusted a bike chain. The sky was clear. Quiet. Why'd you speak out? Malik asked. You could have stayed in the shadows. Xavier didn't look up. Because the shadows aren't where justice lives. They're just where it hides. That night, Serena set a second lock on the back door. Not out of fear. Out of memory. The black SUV still parked across the street every evening. Same car. Same plate. Different driver. Quiet. Present. Permanent. As if someone, somewhere, still understood that one wrong move could set fire to everything again. And they weren't going to risk it. The final moment came a week later. Malik and Xavier walking side by side down Ashburn Lane, the same route, the same stretch of sidewalk where it all began. The houses looked the same. But they weren't. The silence felt different now. Like it wasn't silence at all. Malik glanced at his father. What if someone else tries this again? Xavier didn't pause. Then they won't get past the gate. Not this time. Behind them, on a rooftop 2 blocks away, a silent optic camera tracked the street. Watching. Guarding. Because ghosts don't always haunt the past. Sometimes, they stand watch for the future. As the author of The Sidewalk Stop on Ashburn Lane, I want to leave you with a few thoughts, lessons drawn not just from the fictional world of Malik Carter, but from the real streets of America where too many young people still walk burdened by suspicion instead of embraced by safety. This story isn't just about one teenager and one officer, it's about a system. It's about what happens when power goes unchecked, when prejudice masquerades as protocol, and when dignity must be earned by silence instead of being honored by default. Malik Carter didn't raise his voice. He didn't resist. And yet, his presence alone was treated as provocation. That should trouble all of us. The lesson here is not just about the abuse of authority. It's about the strength of restraint. The quiet kind of courage. Malik didn't meet injustice with rage. He met it with composure, and in doing so, he exposed the truth for what it was. His father, Colonel Xavier Carter, returned not to exact revenge, but to stand as a father first, a protector of home, not just of nations. And perhaps the greatest takeaway is this: you do not need to shout to be heard. But when you are unheard for too long, someone must finally speak. If you're a young person of color walking down your own version of Ashburn Lane, know this: you are not invisible. You are not alone. And if ever you're questioned not because of what you did, but because of how you look, let your presence speak. Let your truth stay firm. You don't have to prove your worth to those who already chose not to see it. Just stand. Sometimes, standing is the most powerful act of resistance there is. To those in positions of power, whether in uniform or not, this story is also for you. Authority is not the same as integrity. Ask yourself, every time you act, am I upholding the law? Or am I defending my bias? And to the rest of us, neighbors, teachers, friends, silence makes us complicit. Speak up. Stand with. Witness. On behalf of us, Justice Stories, I want to thank you for joining us today. These stories are more than entertainment. They're reflection, reminder, and sometimes even a call to action. If Malik's journey moved you, share it. If Xavier's words stirred something in you, carry them forward. And remember, justice doesn't just live in courtrooms or headlines. It lives in everyday choices. Sidewalks. Classrooms. Questions. And answers. We appreciate you walking this journey with us. Please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story that matters. Until next time, stay aware, stay brave, and stay just.